Joey freaking Bosa. What's up? Good morning. Welcome to LaCohn and LaRocca. I'm LaCohn. That's Tyler C. LaRocca. The news is that Joey Bosa has been released. Kind of embarrassing. A big reality check come down for a lot of these stars around the league. Deebo Samuel traded for a 5th-round pick, and he went out and wrote like a 2,000-word essay about his life for the Players Tribune. And now Joey Bosa has been straight up cut. Jim Harbaugh was like, "We'd rather not have you on our team, Mr. Bosa." And now the Niners can seem to have him if they want him. I don't know if they're the favorite. It seems like they're probably the favorite because they have his brother on the team, the younger brother, who's a lot better than Joey. What do you think about Joey Bosa potentially joining this squadron?
So here's my issue with Joey joining the squad. My main issue with Joey joining the squad is it feels to me like that's a Niner move where they'd be like, okay, we're set. When in reality, Joey would only be a rotational piece. Like, just to save his body. He can't play full time. Even when he did play full time last year, he didn't look great. Like, it looked like he didn't have much left. And so, like, who knows? Maybe it's one of those players, that like puts on near the end of their career. Like, how some player like JJ Watt is last year with the Cardinals, like puts everything he's got into that final season and then it just kind of peters off from there. Maybe that's what it's going to be with Joey, but I still would prefer us to either draft something at 11 or make a move for Myles Garrett or, bolster. We have to bolster. I feel like that can't be the only move.
It just feels like if this move were to happen, it would be Nick Bosa pulling the strings or the Bosa family pulling the strings. And I've heard some people say like, okay, well, sure, he's missed a lot of time and he's going to be 30. But if you sign him to a cheap deal and use him as a rotational pass rusher, great. I don't think the Bosas work like that. I don't think they take cheap deals. I think he's going to go to the highest bidder. And if it's the 49ers, he'd be happy, but I don't think he's going to play for nothing or like the vet minimum just so he can say he's like on his brother's team.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening.
In my opinion, then he picked the wrong offseason, buddy. Should have came last season because I don't think this offseason is the season where you're going to get that. We're not going to be the highest bidder for you this season. I could guarantee it. Like, I would be willing to bet you see they're doing it with Brock. They're not going to do it with an aging one-time All-Pro or 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end that is at the tail end of his career, no matter if it's Nick's brother or not.
Yeah, if you look at the moves the Niners have been making this offseason, they've been getting rid of players like Joey Bosa, not adding players like Joey Bosa. Even John Lynch said it at the Combine. We just tried to make a run at the Super Bowl while being the oldest team in the league. Didn't work out. Now we want to get younger and more cost effective. That doesn't mean go sign Joey Bosa.
And in my opinion, again, I think people are overreacting to the BA thing. But again, let's just take it at face value. If they are listening for things on a injured player, then why would you get Joey Bosa for a high price? Because Brandon Ayuk's 26, and besides last year's injuries, never missed a game. So if they're looking to get rid of someone like that and still framing it as younger, they're not going for Joey Bosa at a high. I'm sure they will entertain a veteran's minimum deal or like a cheap 1 to 2 year, like $8 million or something like that. But I don't see them going like high unless Nick is like, I will take a personal pay cut to give it to my brother, which I don't see Nick doing either with all the drama he did to get his money.
So, okay, we've been talking about this for like 3 minutes. We both agree. Bad idea, not going to happen. Why do you think so many people want Joey Bosa on this team? Because I put a poll out on my YouTube channel and more people said yes than no. Get him.
Because he's Nick Bosa's brother. And because when Joey Bosa, they have this like aura. It's like they're like an aura duo, right? Like Nick, I'm a Nick defender. I think he's actually been a lot better than his sack numbers show. I'm on JJ Watt's side on sack numbers don't show the whole story, but I think Joey especially lives off of his aura. He has not been good for years. Like, he's been injury prone. You can't get him in a game. Khalil Mack was better than him. Since Khalil Mack got in LA, he was their premier edge rusher. It wasn't Joey. So, in my opinion, I think people just want it because it's one, the Bosa Bros. And two, because 3 years ago when we were talking about this, Joey Bosa was off of one injury. He was an all-pro. He was one of the best edges in the league when he was healthy. And so I think that's it, man. I think it's got to be aura, because you can't point to stats, right?
No. I mean, to me, what's so funny about it is like, so the 49ers just moved on from Debo, and Niner fans were like, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Couldn't have come, should have came years ago, because Niner fans who've been watching weekly know that Debo really hasn't been special since 2021. And that was a long time ago. Well, Joey Bosa is the same way. He was really good in 2021. Since that season, he's missed 45% of the Chargers games.
We can put it like this. Niners fans were happy we got rid of Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead has been more productive than Joey Bosa the last 3 years. So if you were happy to get rid of Eric Armstead, why do you want Joey Bosa? I don't think people realize, like, again, this is why I'm saying I think it's aura, because I don't think people truly realize, like, how absent Joey has been. Like, he has not been healthy. He hasn't been this perennial edge rusher. He's had Khalil Mack next. Put Khalil Mack next to Nick and see what happens with Nick's numbers. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, Joey was really good. It seems like his body kind of didn't do him too well. And, it sucks. It happens with a lot of athletes, but Joey Bosa just isn't a productive edge rusher.
If his name were like Joseph Boserino and he wasn't related to Nick Bosa, people would be like, ew, no, absolutely not. Yeah. Ew, he just got cut. He hasn't played. He's old. Like, what are you talking about? Well, we just got rid of Debo. Like, but he's Joey Bosa. It's like, oh, it would be so cool to have the Bosa Bros on the same D line. Like, I guess.
And think about it this way: if his name was Jadeveon Clowney, Clowney's been more productive than Joey Bosa, and people are acting like if that was the rumor, be like, oh my God, we're getting old. We shouldn't be doing this. But it's Joey Bosa who's missed, like 20, 30 games in the last 4 years. It's like, dude, Nick.
Yeah, and it's like people say like, well, on the Niners, Joey Bosa will be like way more motivated. You're telling me that it was an issue of motivation for him? I don't think it was an issue of motivation for him. I think it's an issue of his body breaking down.
Yeah. I think he lived in beautiful, sunny Los Angeles, California. I think he was making 100, like 80, $90 million, whatever his contract was. There's no motivational issue. I guarantee you he would even be like, no, I was trying, but just his body,
Also, if you were Robert Saleh and you were coming back as a defensive coordinator, would you want to sign a 30-year-old to address a really important position, or would you want the opportunity to like draft a guy to fill that position?
And that's my thing. It looks like
someone you can like coach and mold and develop.
It looks like Saleh's controlling the defense, which I really respect. Like, this is what I love about this offseason is it doesn't seem like Kyle has total control anymore. Like, it seems like they're defaulting to Saleh. Like, he is the highest paid D coordinator in the league. We are letting him pick his defense. And I don't think Saleh wants it. Like, he let Hufanga walk, which he had a good relationship with. And Hufanga is not even old. He's as injured as Joey. He wants Dre. I feel like Saleh has a vision for this team, and I don't think it would include Joey unless he's a rotation piece. Which, if he's a rotation piece and he agrees to it, cool, yeah.
To me, yeah, that's Nick's vision. That's their parents' vision. But I hope it's not the 49ers' vision. All right. So what's interesting about this offseason is all of a sudden the ownership is cutting costs.
Yeah.
John Lynch sort of mentioned it casually in a very casual way, like not like the sky is falling, but oh no, we have really tighter constraints, and all of a sudden Debo gone, and it's Adam Schefter says there could be more trades because the Niners really don't want to spend a lot of cash this year after spending $334 million last year. Why do you think the Niners are all of a sudden cutting costs? They've been very aggressive in their spending the last 8 years.
Because I think, well, one, all the people they're cutting costs, in my opinion, are people like Debo, right? We already gave him a contract. It didn't work out. If they trade BA, we gave him a contract we didn't really want to give him. And again, I can't say it didn't work out because it's been a year, but it didn't work out, And usually, like, you see the Eagles, right? Like, the Eagles are, giving Saquon a ton of money. So they just signed a Bond to a ton of money. I'm sure they're going to spend, but I think they're noticing, oh, that's when you pay, is when you win something, to reward them for winning something. Whereas like the Eagles beforehand, they didn't pay Hargrave, they didn't pay
Right.
Reddick, they didn't pay CJ Gardner Johnson. They let all these guys walk because it's like, well, why would we pay them? We didn't win with this team. And so I think
Right.
they are starting to take the Eagles example, which is,
Yeah.
we're not winning with this team. Why are we paying them? We're going to
Yeah.
pay who's successful and who are like cornerstones, like Kittle. I'm sure, they aren't happy they paid Trent, but I'm sure they're happy he's at least there. I also believe, I kind of believe the conspiracy that they're getting ready to like sign someone like a Drew Dahlman, like to a bigger contract. So they're trying to cut some costs to, start signing younger and signing the trenches. And then
Hold on. Can we stay there for a second? Like, I agree with you that they're preparing to sign someone, but I don't think it's Dahlman. And it could be, but I think it's Brock. And I think what they're doing is, I think that the calculus in their mind is, look, we may have to pay Brock a whole lot of money this offseason. There's a chance he doesn't accept our offer. There's a chance we trade him. Who knows? But the most likely outcome is that we offer him between $45 and $50 million a year, and he accepts it at some point. And we have to write him a fat signing bonus check.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a lot of cash, 50 million, 80 million, 100 million. And that's about all the cash we want to spend this offseason. That's a lot. So let's get out of as many bad contracts as possible so we can, because it's not about cap space. It's about how much cash we have to actually dole out this year after spending 334 last year.
And I also see, I see that as well. And I also see this. I think they want to set up for the future. I think they're like, listen, I think they're starting to be realistic about this window, which is this window. I wouldn't say it's closed, but I would say this window is, tight. And what they want to do is, if they're going to sign someone like Brock, they want to extend that window. They want that window to be like, hey, we may not be paying these new guys, like our old favorites, Debo and, Greenlaw possibly and stuff like that. But I think they're wanting to kind of build a franchise like the Eagles have been, or, like the Chiefs have been, something where we can compete, because they're starting to realize, with all this money being shelled out in 2-3 years, it's going to come home to roost. We're not going to have much money to dole out anymore. We're going to have a lot of old contracts for old players. And if they don't win a ring, not only are we going to not be very competitive, we're not going to have any money to be competitive. So right now, the best thing to do is, well, let's at least stay good to great and not elite, is kind of what I'm seeing.
If you're going to spend all this money on Brock Purdy potentially, what's the point of also spending exorbitant amounts of money on older players that aren't necessarily on his timeline? Like, if you're really going to commit to Brock and go all in and make him the highest paid player in franchise history, then he should probably have a core around him of players like Diamador Lenore and Ricky Pearsall. And I mean, it's cool to have George Kittle and Fred Warner as like the senior Joe Staley leader types, but essentially the core should be 23-year-olds to 26-year-olds. And that's not that. This is still the same core from like 2019.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's also why they're willing to deal BA. Is it because he's old? It's because he was supposed to be the core, but he's injured. So they don't know. He's not going to be back till whatever. They said like November, which is crazy.
Maybe, yeah.
And so I think they're just kind of like, yeah, if we can get rid of him. And there's a lot of like free agent receivers up right now that you could sign in the meantime. Maybe they'll even draft the guy. I don't know. They've been meeting with like Isaiah Bond and some receivers in the draft. So I think the front office is cutting costs because they're realizing like we don't have it anymore. We're too old, and there's no point in re-signing guys that couldn't get it done. Like, they're only getting older. So if they couldn't get it done in their prime, how are they going to get it done now?
Isn't it also possible that like last year, coming off that Super Bowl, the Niners were at a crossroad and they could have done this last year? Hey, we lost again. Let's get younger. And Kyle says, no. We got to run this back. This team has it. Like we had the lead in over. You can't blow this up. We were this close. Yeah. And so the front office is like, all right, Kyle, The analytics say we should probably blow this up, but you say we should make one more run. So we're going to spend $334 million to make your vision come true and give you this shot, and you go 6-11. I think I would, I could imagine the Yorks would be like, you know what? We're not taking your advice this offseason because your advice cost us a lot of money and we didn't get anything for it, not even a playoff game. So Parag seems like the guy we're going with this offseason, and his plan saves us a lot of freaking money. And if you say it's going to prevent us from making the playoffs, that's your problem, man. You're supposed to be a great coach.
Yeah.
Coach them up. Sean McVay has a young team.
Plus, I think, again, that's part of the argument, right? Is one, you can't use the injury excuse. Okay, cool. You're proving our point. Yeah, we should get younger and cut these old players that are getting injured. Yeah. Thanks for agreeing with us. Bafanga gone. Greenlaw gone. BA gone, Debo gone. And then Kyle's like, wait. No. It's like, bro, either way, it doesn't work. And then, we're paying you a ton of money. You asked us to make Saleh the highest paid defensive coordinator in football. So you guys need the best roster, the most expensive roster, and the most expensive coaching salaries? Like, at what point, like, you got to give? And I think, like you reported last year was their give. It was, hey, this is it. If you don't make something happen here, it's cooked. And
I think it was clear, like Kyle had to say, please pay for Ayuk. Please pay for Trent Williams. Please pay for Christian McCaffrey. And I think the York said, okay, but it comes with strings attached. You know, if you win the Super Bowl, great. Yeah. Everything will be okay. If you don't, if you go 6-11, we're going to slash so much salary. It's going to make your head spin. And you're going to have a season where you have maybe $100 million in dead cap, and we're going to say, don't care, make the playoffs. And if you don't make the playoffs, there'll be real consequences. We're not going to give you the financial excuse. Like, you created this mess. Coach your way out of it, make a young team, and succeed the way the Rams have.
I mean, it was what New Orleans had to do with Sean Payton, right? He got them in cap hell. And I think the Niners see the Saints. They can't get a coach. They can't get players to want to go. They can't get anyone to want to go there because they're in cap hell for the next 4 years trying to dig themselves out of Sean Payton's hole. And they're like, we're not doing that.
Pause.
So they're like, we're not doing that. We want to stay at least semi-competitive. And I think that's what they want to be. They want to be semi-competitive. And if you're as good of a coach as you say you are, you would take a semi-competitive roster and make us competitive. Andy Reid does it. You know, the Eagles are the only ones that have a best roster in football, but theirs is drafted. So it's also like, John, it's your turn to step in and do your job. We need you guys to do your job. We can't keep writing checks when you guys can't do your job. You know, Jalen Carter's on a rookie contract.
We've lost confidence in your ability to recommend which players to pay. Yeah. But we're not going to fire you. We could. Grant Cohn said fire you. A lot of people said fire. We're not going to do that. We're just going to never take your financial advice again and let you focus on coaching. Okay. Yeah. So Parag's now in charge of personnel, and John. And your job is to coach up the youngsters. And a great coach can do that.
Well, and my thing with them is too, right? If you're the front office looking at paying Brock, this is why I like that they're drawing their line in the sand at $45 million. This is another player with injury history that Kyle wants us to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to. Dude, at this point, you have to take Parag's advice. Parag, should we really pay this guy, or should we just chance it? Is Brock that good, or is our system that good? And honestly, that's what I'd challenge Kyle with. Is Brock really worth $50-something million? Are you that good, or is he that good? Because I'm curious. You made Jimmy G work. Why do you need Brock so bad?
Big Lutch says, why do you think the Yorks are buying these soccer teams? If anything, it's less money they have on hand to pay players up front. That's the question. It seems like they just purchased a controlling share in Rangers FC. I'm sure it cost them $50 million cash. And they're worth billions, but they're invested in dozens and dozens of things. How much straight up cash do they have lying around in Swiss bank accounts at any given time? I don't know. And it seems like this year they decide to spend a large portion of the pie on things that are not related to American football. And I don't know. That's a business decision. It makes you wonder, is winning a Super Bowl? No, it doesn't make you wonder. I feel like it reveals that winning a Super Bowl in the NFL isn't necessarily the Yorks' number one priority. I think they see the teams that they own. They now own three, one football team, two soccer teams, as revenue streams. Instead of having one, they have three now. And the soccer teams have potential to grow. If any of them win Super Bowls or championships, that's great. But it also is great in the sense that it makes the revenue stream more lucrative. I think that's essentially what we're looking at.
In my opinion, I honestly, I don't really care for Jed all that much. But I think honestly, he's shown that Niners winning a Super Bowl is his top priority. I feel like
I think what I'm talking about is his parents. This is bigger than him.
But I think even then they've said, okay, yeah, we'll give everything you need to the Niners. The last 3 years, everything the Niners have said, we need.
That's true. But there's been a noticeable pivot and shift this offseason.
Yes, I think this offseason, they're like, listen, dude, like we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on winning on what you guys say is going to win us a Super Bowl, and it hasn't. So I don't think it's not their priority. I think they're just kind of calling out Kyle, Jed, and John's bullshit at this point. I think they're just saying, like, bro, like, you guys don't know how to win. Like, what do you mean? I think it's just you guys don't know what you're doing. And it's obvious because we've given you everything you asked for. You wanted Christian McCaffrey on a brand new contract at 30 years old as a high volume running back who has gotten like 1,000 touches a season every year he's played football. Sure. And now it's like, oh, he has a calf injury. Just kidding. It's Achilles tendonitis in both legs. It's like, and we just paid him. Okay. Trent Williams is 40 years old. Please give him a contract, please. And so I think his parents are just like, no, we're done. You're too loose with our checkbook. I think they're just cutting off Jed. I don't think they're cutting off the Niners. I think they're cutting off Jed.
That's funny. Well, look, the first person who got cut off, Deebo Samuel, traded for a 5th-round pick, which is so funny. I mean, a couple of years ago, he was in the running for Offensive Player of the Year. He was first-team All-Pro. Then he got a podcast because he's like a crossover star. And he got traded for a 5th-round pick, which is kind of humiliating. And then he wrote a big, long essay about his life in the Players Tribune. What do you think of Deebo's year so far?
Pretty sure even last year, weren't the Steelers offering like a second for him?
It's on a second or third, something like that.
But first off, what I want to say is I will always have love for Deebo. He brought so much excitement to the team. So before, we get cooking. But, I will always love Deebo, always appreciate Deebo. He brought tons to the team. But, yeah, I mean, I think it was a lot what Richard Sherman had to say about it, too. It was just, I think, a too many mouths to feed problem. Deebo has a very strong personality, to put it politely, and he wants the football. And when he's struggling, even when he's getting the football, he feels it's because he's not getting enough football. And I think what Sherman said, I think this is addition by subtraction. I think it's going to make our offense a lot easier to run. You and I were talking about this during the season. Stop force feeding to Deebo. Please get Kittle more involved. Please. And when they got Kittle more involved, what happened to our offense? It looked amazing. So I think Kyle realized we still got Kittle. We still got Pearsall. We still got Juwan. We still got Christian. It's not like we're out of weapons without Deebo. So I wish the Commanders luck. I wish Deebo luck. But I think this was such an obvious move from everyone who's watched Deebo the last few years.
I don't even really like the move that much for the Commanders. It's like you have Jaden Daniels in his second year. Why are you messing around with Deebo?
Dude.
He needs the ball. Like, why don't you get Jaden Daniels, a receiver who's around his age? You got Terry McLaurin and Deebo. They're old.
Grant, I was getting...
Come on, Adam Peters.
I had people going after my neck on Twitter because I was like, when are they going to start building Jaden Daniels?
Seriously, the team is old.
You can't just 1 to 2 year your way. Like everyone's like, oh my God, Adam Peters is so successful. Okay, Bobby Wagner's 35, Austin Eckler's 30, Deebo's 29, Terry McLaurin's 29. dude, in 2 years, Jaden Daniels' team's going to be retired. Like, or not retired, but they're going to be like way over the hill. I could not agree more. I do not like the Debo pickup for the Commanders. I hope the best for Debo, but even if he does, say he does get not to he's never going to get to 2021 Debo. Say he gets to 2022 Debo, or even 2023 Debo. Like, who cares? He's someone you have to build an entire offense around.
Yep.
He's someone you have to scheme open because he cannot. I would be willing to bet money he's the worst route runner in the
And you
NFL.
have to keep him happy.
Yes.
Otherwise, he like goes on social media or talks about it on his podcast. He's just a distraction.
He's like a Draymond.
He's more about himself than he is about the team.
He's like Draymond, but without the consistency, which is a problem. Like, and yeah, that's my thing, man. It's like he was getting his targets this year too, and he was like the whole funny part about someone fact checking his tweet where it was like, "I'm just not getting the ball." And they're like, "Yes, he is. He's leading the team in drops." Like, like it's like, but that's the player, right? And let's be real, the Commanders had a really easy schedule. Every rookie seems to go through a sophomore slump because everyone has tape on them. Dak is coming back. The Cowboys are actually making semi-intelligent moves this offseason. You have the Super Bowl champion Eagles. That division is not going to be a cakewalk. The Giants are getting super aggressive. That division isn't going to be a cakewalk. You're not going to have an easy schedule anymore because you just got out of the NFC Championship game. So it's like, now you have to worry about keeping Debo happy. But it seems like the Commanders just want all the Niners like scraps. They're looking at Hufanga. They're looking at Greenlaw. It's like, okay, Peters, can you actually like find young guys? Like, can you he found Jaden Daniels, great. He found the young corner. That was good. But other than that, like, his team's full of 30 to 35-year-olds.
All right, I want to show something to you. You haven't seen this yet, but this is pretty cool. BetUS, our sponsor, has a special wager out there right now in football line. Brock Purdy's next team for week 1, assuming it's not the Niners. Browns at plus 600. What do you think about the Niners trading Brock Purdy to the Browns?
Please.
If the Browns offer the second pick, here's the thought process. Let me say the thought process. They want a quarterback. They're considering Cam or Shador. They currently have Deshaun Watson. They look at Brock and think that he's just the most wholesome person they've ever seen, and they'd like to have a rebrand at quarterback, and they want a known entity who's squeaky clean. Yeah. And they say, we want Brock. And the Niners trade up and take either Cam or Shador, whoever's available. What do you think? I know you're a big Shador guy.
I like Shador. I think he would actually fit well in the Niners. I know like Dan Orlovsky and Chase Daniel have started like deflecting the hate for him, which I agree. I think his offense just sucked. But
did he have a running game? Like he had Travis Hunter, who's more of a corner.
He had the worst offensive. He had like the 179th ranked offensive line out of 181, and then he had no run game, no motions, no nothing. I think yes, his arm strength's a problem, but we're talking about replacing Brock Purdy, not Josh Allen. So yeah, okay, his arm strength's a problem. So is Purdy's. But I like it. Again, I would love to see everyone freaking out over the Niners. Purdy makes his team better. Okay, cool. Go to the Browns. Let's see what they pay him. If they paid him 60, that'd be awesome. And yeah, why not? Because you won't get Cam. It seems like the Titans love Cam Ward. If for whatever reason you can get Cam Ward, that'd be sweet. But dude, I'd even because so with our trade here, right? Is our idea we'd trade Brock in 11 for 2?
That's a good question because, I mean, the teams with the best odds to get him are the teams with the highest picks in the draft, the Browns, the Raiders, the Giants, the Titans. So the teams that are picking high that have a need for a quarterback. So it's either that Brock's worth a top 5 pick or Brock in 11 are worth that. Either way, I'm kind of interested. I think what's more important is the Yorks might be interested. If they're really trying to not spend a ton of cash this year, like on April 1st, they got to give Nick Bosa $29 million option bonus, straight up check. If they don't, if they don't want to do a lot of that this offseason, then maybe you, instead of giving Brock Purdy, incredible signing bonus and an extension, trade him for a guy on a rookie deal and just start that process over for the next 4 years.
I like it. I really do. I think the biggest issue with our current regime is they're too scared of this quarterback carousel. I think that's their biggest like reason of wanting to sign Jimmy and wanting to sign Brock so quickly.
The Trey Lance experience
is they just want to be able to say we have a franchise quarterback.
Yeah. But I mean, I think like last year they wanted to say that was something that appealed to them. But now I think the financial implications of that are staring them in the face. And I think they've been burned on so many contracts that they want to get out from right now that they were talked into. I think they're looking at the granddaddy of them all coming up, the 45 to 50 to $60 million a year extension for Brock. And they're thinking, man, like, you know what? I think we've kind of lost our stomach for this. It's a lot of money.
I'll tell you.
Maybe I'm misinterpreting, but it just seems like the Yorks are getting cold feet. Maybe it's not John and Kyle, but I think it's the Yorks. And I keep going back to like, why did Greasy walk away from this team so he could spend more time with his family? Yeah. I'm sure that's part of it, but that can't be all of it.
I mean, my thing is, I would do it personally. I would trade up to 2, grab Abdul Carter, and then trade back into the first and grab Jackson Dart. If I was playing this on a Madden simulator, that's what I would do. I think Shedeur and Cam are very good. I don't think they're so much better than Dart that I wouldn't trade back into the first to grab him, but I would do it.
My favorite quarterback in this draft is Milroe, but he shouldn't play right away. He needs to go to a team where he can sit for a year or two.
If I didn't have Kyle Shanahan as my quarterback, sure, Milroe could be a fun
right, exactly. But Kyle Shanahan and Milroe would be like oil and water. Wouldn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just think. Yeah, I mean, I'd do it. Yeah, if Browns want him, Raiders want him, Giants want him, I don't care who you are. I would. I don't even care if you're behind us in the draft. I'd trade Brock for it. Like, I don't think. I just listen.
I'm gonna put money down on the Giants.
Here's why. The Giants are super aggressive and super desperate.
Also, I mean, maybe this is out of bounds, but correct me if I'm wrong. Like, so the top. Okay, this is getting way out of bounds. Tinfoil hat here.
Yeah, this is way too well. Yeah.
The top 2 quarterbacks in this draft class are black. And the New York Giants, have they ever had a black starting quarterback? Like someone they committed to, ever. In the history of their franchise.
Did they commit to Tyrod Taylor?
He was their backup. I'm just saying, I don't know that franchise. I don't know. Like, something weird with the Maras. Like, is that... Can you see the Maras going into business with Shedeur Sanders? I just feel like he'd be too.
I just don't.
They're not ready for that. They might want Howdy Doody at quarterback. No offense to Brock.
I don't think Cam's going to be available, and I think they're just not all in on Shedeur. I think Shadeur's one of those quarterbacks. It's very, very like he's like Debo. Like you gotta kind of accept his personality, and I don't know if the Giants they didn't like OBJ.
I think the Niners would like Shedeur because Kyle loves famous football players. I think he'd like to be associated with Deion, and I think John Lynch knows Deion. So I mean, Tariq Owens is in the franchise. I think they like bloodlines, the Bosas, the McCaffreys.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it, but I think at that point it would have to be a Kyle sign off. Like, even if the Yorks are like getting cold feet and considering it, I think Kyle would obviously have to sign off. But yeah, if you could get Kyle to sign off on it,
I'd love to know what Purdy's worth on his own. Is it the first round pick, or is it like Purdy and 11 gets you up? Probably Purdy and 11. I would think.
Because if someone offered them a top 5 pick for Purdy straight up and we didn't take it, I'd burn the building down.
Now it'd be tough to trade. It'd be tough to make that trade today. Like, let's say you trade with the Giants for the number 3 pick, and Cam and Shedeur end up going 1 and 2. Now you feel dumb.
I don't.
It's like, well,
I wouldn't
we don't have a quarterback anymore, but we got Abdul Carter, but we don't have a quarterback anymore.
No, because this is what I do, right? Because if we traded Brock straight up, I would draft Abdul Carter at 3, Jackson Dart at 11.
I don't like Jackson Dart.
Sure, I don't either, but is he that much worse than Purdy?
No.
He looks like Darnold. So
it's
just
true.
Do what KOC did with Darnold, make the offense easy, and let it rip. Because, yeah, I mean,
it's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gene J says both Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are fighting for their job this year. Seems like it.
I somewhat agree, yeah.
They definitely don't have the green light anymore.
Yeah.
Propa says the Joey Bosa topic is separating the casuals and hardcores. Unless it's a vet minimum, please no. And I just don't see him accepting a vet minimum. Also, he'd have to change his number and defer to Nick and be like, he'd be like Tito to, you don't know this reference, but Nick would be Michael Jackson and Joey would be Tito Jackson. I don't think he wants to be, no one wants to be Tito. All right, Brandon Ayuk. It seems like Brandon Ayuk could get traded.
I don't think he will, but.
Well, the issue with him, again, like Bosa and Debo, he's got an option bonus that kicks in on April 1st. That's like $22.5 million. A lot of money. We know the Yorks and the bean counters didn't want to extend Ayuk in the first place. Kyle trumped and overruled. That blew up in their faces, and now they're trying to save money. So you think they trade him to save money, or think they won't do something to just blow up the team like that?
I think Adam Schefter is playing a clickbait game with what John says every offseason. Yeah, we're going to listen to calls. Every offseason he says the only person he said he wouldn't was Nick. That was the only player I've ever heard him say we're not listening to calls on. Every other offseason he goes, we always listen to calls. We always listen to calls. So I think it's one of those. I think it's a little bit more heavy-handed like that. Like, we will listen to these calls, but I don't think they're actively trying to trade him because they know his attitude and they don't want him to get all bent out of shape. But I do think if someone came in and was like, hey, we'll offer you like a high second rounder, like if a Browns to Patriots team offered us a high second and like a fourth or a fifth for BA, I mean, if I was them, I would be like, yeah, let's do it. Because you have so much receiver talent, so much in this draft.
Yeah, it just seems to me like if you've already got $65 million in dead cap and you want to move on and get younger and get cheaper, more cost effective, man, just trade him.
Yeah,
take the hit.
And again,
you got receivers. He's not going to play this year anyway. He might play a little bit and not be quite. Just trade him.
Like, that's my thing.
The loss.
If he were to be back week 1, then it would be completely different. But if someone's offering me a second rounder for someone that's not going to play this year, and I'm banking on him coming back 2 years removed from football and being worth that much money, I don't know. I trust Pearsall. I trust Juwan. I trust whoever we draft, and then George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. That should be plenty, like, in my opinion. If that's healthy, that should be plenty. There's also a lot of free agents. There's Chris Godwin, who's a free agent. There's Tyler Lockett, who's a free agent. You have a lot of free agents that could fill a void for a year, too, if you need. Like we did with Emmanuel Sanders. Kyle's used to doing that. Grab a good vet that could fill a void for a year or two. I like BA. I was one of the people that thought he deserved his money. But I mean, when you tear every ligament in your knee, money talks, man. Money talks. And they want to get cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, I was always against the extension. I thought it didn't make sense. I like Brandon Ayuk as a player, and I feel like he'd be worth it on a team that throws a lot. Like if you put him on the Chiefs, I think he'd be worth it. But the Niners don't throw a lot, and they have a quarterback who doesn't really throw it down the field a lot. He's more of an intermediate thrower, which is great. There's no way. And now he's hurt. There's no way. Just move on. You're already, and I think what's cool is like you're already at $65 million for dead cap. I mean, what's another 20? Who cares? You have an easy schedule this year. You're trying to get younger, and you're trying to like give yourself options for 2026.
And here's my thing. I think there are so many receivers you could get. Again, this is me assuming someone offers a second. You got like Trey Harris, Egbuka from Ohio State. You have Jaden Higgins, all that can be X receivers. Like you have so many of these receivers, in my opinion, that can jump in and fill BA's slot. Maybe they won't be as good as him off the rip. Brandon Ayuk wasn't that good off the rip. So yeah, get younger, get cheaper, get more cost effective. And again, Kyle's great with receivers. It's like when we talk about Kyle, you have the quarterback Kyle who's awful, but receiver Kyle's great. Receiver Kyle makes it all work. So I don't know, man. I would be fine with it. I don't think it would be bad. I know a lot of Niners fans would freak out, but I think it would make sense. Like I wouldn't be worried about it. I'd actually be excited for it. I think we could be better. I mean,
move on.
I think we would be better because what these one of the rookies would play. So
Kajan 25 says trade Ayuk to New England for Joe Milton.
No. Joe Milton's horrible.
Put him in the package. I like us offense this year. Put him in the package. Tommy Murphy says, why are there so many 30 simps out there? Why is Jadakiss as hard as it gets, man? I don't have all the answers. It's a good question. Speaking of Brock, how do you think this is going to end? Do you think he's going to agree to whatever the Niners offered him? I mean, Jason LaCohn reported that it's LaCohn reported that it's $45 million a year. Clearly, that's not what Brock Purdy's looking for. He's waiting, hoping that there's going to be some negotiation and maybe some back and forth and a readjustment of the offer. How do you think this winds up?
My prediction is they end up paying him around 50.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. 48 to 52 would be my guess, because then Purdy would feel like, okay, we made him budge, and then he wouldn't feel bad. And the Niners would be like, yeah, we're paying him around 50, but whatever. What I would do is, as we get closer to the draft, I'd start fielding calls to really get his agent and him uncomfortable. I'd start fielding a lot of calls. And again, if what we were saying, thank you to BetUS, is true, and he could go to like the Giants or the Raiders or the Browns, I'd trade him. I'd be like, listen, you heard John at the Combine, guys. We want to get young. We want to get cheap. Brock may be young age-wise, but his arm's old. That's 3 throwing injuries. I'm not paying you whatever you guys want. And I don't ever think he'll get a top of that deal. I don't think this ends like Nick or BA. I don't think he gets that at all.
No.
I think everyone realizes he's not worth it.
So doesn't it kind of feel like the draft is sort of like the deadline?
I think the draft.
Purdy's messing around and he hasn't agreed, and he can't get what he wants by the first round of the draft. All bets are off, because let's say the Browns call the Niners when the Browns are on the clock, and they say, you know what, we want to make an offer for Brock. Maybe the Niners say, screw it. Brock won't make up his mind, and we don't want to be hung up with this all off season. Let's just do it.
I think the Brock and BA duo are both draft watchers. Like, one of those things where if something's not done, like, well, BA, it's never going to be done. But
yeah, it has to happen before April 1st. They're not going to pay him $22 million and then trade him.
Yeah,
they're not going to give him a parting gift of $22 million.
Yeah, I think Brock and BA could both very well be gone by the draft. And yeah, I agree. I think Brock, it would be in Brock's best interest to sign the 45. If I was him and I was his agent, I'd be like, just sign it. You're not going to get that on the open market unless you want to get traded to like the Browns. And
what could happen is he could get traded to a team that doesn't want to extend him. He could get traded to a team that's like, you know what, we want you to play out your rookie deal, and then if we like you, we're going to tag you and then tag you again. That could happen to him. So he needs to be very careful right here.
Yep, I agree.
But I think you're right. I think ultimately he'll get the Niners to budge a little bit, and he'll get like maybe 50.
Yeah,
maybe
I think
51.
I think it'll hover that 48 to 52 with signing bonuses. And my guess is that's how it plays out. They'll get it done probably, again, I think before the draft. I think the draft, again, is going to be when it all gets done. Because I don't think this is going to draw out. I don't think the Niners want it to draw out. I think they saw how poorly it did last year, waiting till after the draft, because then you have no leverage. Getting deals done like the Eagles did before the draft takes players' leverage away. And again, I also just don't think Brock Purdy has a lot of leverage. 3 injuries to your throwing arm. You're off your worst career year. And we're about to hit the draft, dude. Like, I genuinely don't think he has much leverage. The only leverage he does have is this isn't the strongest quarterback class. But it also kind of hurts his leverage, because that means teams like the Giants are going to be really thirsty for a quarterback.
All right, I got one more topic for you. NFL draft.
My favorite.
Before, like a few months ago, if you would say like, hey, Mason Graham might fall to the Niners, you'd be like, absolutely not. But if he did, no-brainer pick. Now it's looking like he could fall to the Niners. Smaller than they listed him as. He's like 296, not 320. He's got short arms. He didn't test so great. No. But his tape's immaculate.
Yeah.
So what do you think? If Mason Graham's there, is that the pick?
Dude, I think so. I think the only person I don't want us to draft is Shamar Stewart. Please, God, don't draft a Shamar Stewart.
Why?
Because I think he's all draft type. He's all physicals. Okay. But I think it's so good that Abdul Carter has a stress reaction in his right foot, and then Mason Graham measured in and didn't have the best combine. I think that is so good for San Francisco because that means teams will hesitate. And that means I don't think Abdul Carter will fall to 11. If he did, wow. But I think it could push Mason Graham back. I think the Niners at 11 have such a perfect position for themselves.
Yeah.
Because you can go Will Campbell or Membu. I don't know how to pronounce his name. The dude from, I think it's Missouri, the offensive lineman. Yeah, he's incredible. Or Will Campbell. If they're not there, okay, cool. Mason Graham. If he's not there, you got Will Johnson, and if he's not there, you could trade BA and grab someone like McMillan because that would mean everyone's drafting defense. You also have Walter Nolan there, Jalen Walker there. Like, I feel like that's such a good pick for us, man. We have so many good options if they don't mess this up.
You know who Mason Graham reminds me of? And this, he may be before your time, but Smith? Remember, yes. He reminds me of Justin Smith. Super physical, kind of short arms, but it doesn't really matter.
Cowboy.
The thing about Justin Smith was like Justin Smith came into the league as a 4-3 D end, and then he transitioned to being like a 3-4 D end, and he would play D tackle in like the nickel defense. But again, if you put prime Justin Smith in the wide 9, I think he'd get exposed too. I don't think it would do him any favors because to me, if to be a D tackle in the wide 9, one thing you have to be good at, it's a non-negotiable, is anchoring against double teams. And I'm looking at Mason Graham's profile right now. Weaknesses: has trouble dropping a deep anchor against double teams. Now, to be fair, so do most D tackles. It's a hard thing to do when you have 650, 700 pounds pushing against you like that. But that's what's required in a wide 9. And I don't know if he's the right pick unless they want to have some different fronts this year, in which case, by all means.
You don't think that I have a feeling Saul is going to change things up a little bit. I feel like
it'd be great if they didn't use the same front all the freaking time. Like, it's not that great of a front. You can use it sometimes. It's great to me against outside zone teams because it sets the edge on both sides, and you have 3 off-ball linebackers who can flow and run to the ball. But it's not great against inside zone teams because inside zone teams want to get double teams at the point of attack on defensive tackles, and you're like inviting them to do so.
Yeah. No, I feel like Mason Graham's one of those no-brainers. Like, you would want to form the defense around his strengths because he's that good and because of his potential. I think you'd be doing a disservice forcing him into the wide 9 where he can't be his explosive self. And I think with Saleh, he would recognize that and be like, yeah, we're going to make sure. Because Saleh is really good at that. He did it with the Jets. He made Jermaine Johnson look like a superstar. He made a defensive line over there that wasn't fantastic look really good. And I think Saleh.
And their run defense gave up 4.1 yards per carry in 2023. It was a good run defense, and he did that with a wide 9 front, so he can do it.
I think, I like
he Mason can do Graham. It.
I think Mason Graham's bad combine is so good for the Niners. I just think he's so good, man.
Also, I think another reason that the Niners run defense has been kind of whacked the last couple of years, or at least last year, I think linebackers have a lot to do with it. Losing Azeez Al-Shaair hurt, and then losing Greenlaw kind of killed him. I mean, in the wide 9 front, I think the defensive linemen are sort of supposed to like burst up field and create havoc, and the linebackers are supposed to make the plays. Yeah. And the Niners don't really have those playmakers at linebacker anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners could even go Jihad Campbell in round 1.
Yeah. I think I like him. I also am really kind of hoping we can get Will Johnson. I love Will Johnson, man. I think he is so good. He is so good. He ran a 4.39 at 6'2", 200 pounds as a corner. Like,
do you care that he may have quit on his team last year?
No.
His
team sucked. I'd quit
on
him too.
Fair enough. I don't know that every team would care. I don't know that every team would. I know Michigan cares, but that's sort of their problem.
Yeah, like, I think he's so good when he's at his peak. He's so good. Like, and I think with a defensive coach like Saleh, it's hard to quit with a coach with that much juice. And Diamador Lenore, like, bro, you're not gonna be able to quit with him on your defense.
Here's the thing about taking Will Johnson. Why I like the idea. It's always great to take trench players, but if you have 3 great cornerbacks, then you can play, especially on like third downs, like passing downs, you can play man coverage.
Yep.
You can play single high instead of 2 high, and you can like bring an extra guy to rush. You can manufacture pressure. You could have a guy like as a robber in the middle field to take away the crossing routes. There's a lot of things. It makes it so hard to pass. That being said, it does seem like the league is becoming more of a running league. And if you're not good in the trenches, all those corners aren't going to help you.
But here's my thing. I think just like a great defensive line can make bad corners look good, I think amazing corners can make a bad defensive line look good. Because again, like you said, we have Renardo Green, press man corner. Diamador Lamore loves press man. And then Will Johnson loves press man. You have 3 press man corners that love to be in receivers' grills. That's going to buy you a lot of time on third down. It's going to help you commit more to the box. Why? Because Will
you don't need as much safety help.
Yeah, Will Johnson runs a 4.39, dude. Even if a receiver beats him, I mean, he's not going to be beat by much. Speed. Yeah,
he has recovery speed. Ronaldo Green has recovery speed, and Lenore is one of the better. I mean, so does he. That would be a really good trio of corners. And like we've seen, if you have 2 really good corners, it's often not enough, because if Ambry Thomas is on the field, then they're just going to. It's a green light, and they're just going to go at him relentlessly. So I mean, that's I'm not against it.
And that's where, because again, I think we've covered this a bit. Like, I think the D tackle talent is really deep in this class. Like, a lot of the good D tackles are going to get grabbed in the 2nd, 3rd round. And I think that's where you can load up on vets and good D tackles if you grab Will Johnson. Like, I don't think.
But no, if they draft Will Johnson, to me, that means that they've signed
Joey Bosa. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think if they sign Joey, that Will Johnson.
But that's sort of the reason to sign Joey or a defensive end. Is like, you don't have to draft that player in round 1, because defensive ends are abundant. They're available in the free agent market. They're available in the trade market, and there are good ones available. There's a lot of good ones in the world.
And that's my thing. At 11, I think the weakest position for us is end. Like, I think you could like if Mason Graham's not there, you don't really want to jump for any of the defensive tackles. You have like Walter Nolan, but I mean, you could just jump back in late in the 1st to get him. Jalen Walker, like, it would be a reach to grab him up there. Abdul Carter's probably going to be gone. So it's like kind of Will Johnson would most likely be your best pick there. Oh, and I can't forget Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren, if he's there, they'll probably heavily consider him too. But
if Robert Saleh makes the pick, I think he's going to take James Pierce Jr. or Will Johnson. He took Sauce Gardner high. He took Will McDonald the 4th high. I don't think Mykel Williams is his style, even though he's good. I think he wants a guy with more speed. This is the all gas, no brakes guy. He's the guy who wanted D Ford. So I think he would take James Pierce Jr. with the 4.47. And the fact that he's just 245, like Will McDonald was like 239. He took him with the 15th pick. I don't think Saleh would be phased by that. So I wouldn't be surprised if James Pierce Jr. is the pick. Unless there's something about this. Someone mentioned something about his character and it was vague. So maybe the teams know something that I don't know. But beyond that, I think he's probably going to be the pick.
Yeah, I mean, did they even have a formal interview with him?
Yeah,
I know they had one with Will Johnson.
They did have a formal interview with him. I asked.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I personally am biased. I really like Will Johnson. I think Will Johnson should be the pick. But here's another thing, right? Is a lot of the Niners are like one of the favorites to land DJ Reed. So if they get DJ Reed Jr., the corner from the Jets, like, then yeah, I guess you wouldn't draft Will Johnson. So I guess what you're saying, like, we kind of got to watch. Like, if they sign Joey, it seems like they're, leaning towards Will Johnson. If they sign Reed, obviously they're going to be leaning towards the trenches. So
do you think the 49ers will give out any 3 to 4 year deals this offseason other than potentially to Brock Purdy?
I think they could.
Do you think they will?
I don't know how much they're interested.
A Drew Dahlman, a DJ Reed. I don't see it, man. I think the Niners are going to sign a few guys to 1-2 year deals like they did last year with Malik Collins. I don't think they're going to make any big investments.
Here's my thing though, is they've been so different to the normal 49ers, which is why I want to say yes, because they've been so opposite of what we usually do. Usually we keep it in house, we sign our guys, and we, draft poorly, and then we move on with that. But I think this year I could see them signing a Drew Dahlman or a DJ Reed or, you know, and I just don't know. Like they've been acting so strange, and it would make sense, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like they're in the real cost cutting
Cost
mood,
cutting. Yeah.
which makes me want to say no. But that also could mean they're trying to be able to sign someone like Dahlman or DJ Reed. So I don't know. I just don't know. They're Niners they're exciting this offseason, man. They could do a lot of things or they could not do anything, you know?
I just think the day, like this year, I don't think Kyle and John can go to Jed and Denise and say, hey, we really need a center.
Yeah,
really need a center. They're going to be like, cool, draft one.
But here's the thing. Can Saleh say, hey, I had this kid in the Jets. He's an amazing corner. We just lost Mooney. We need
draft
to
another one. Draft another one.
Here's the thing is, in my opinion, he'd be like, we have to draft the line. We have to draft in the trenches. We can't waste the pick on Will Johnson.
We spent $334 million last year. Figure it out. These are the consequences. You wasted our money and we're pissed.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying is they could.
We're so mad. We're pretending we care about soccer. Pretending.
That's what
no one likes soccer.
If Saleh goes, if Saul's like, I wasn't here. I need this.
The defensive coordinator? Maybe.
Yes. The one they just gave a ton of money to? Yeah.
That's true.
I'd be like, why'd you guys give me all this money then?
See, I think the reason that Joey Bosa is a possibility is that there's this fantasy that the Niners could get this asset for pennies on the dollar because of a family relationship.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure.
Other than that, I don't see that's the one big name the Niners get this offseason, Joey Bosa, if he plays for free. Other than that,
dude, I mean, I'm sure I would, if I was a betting man, I'd bet on him coming to the Niners. I think his family wants it because one, I think it benefits him in a way because he could play here for 1 year and be like, playing next to Nick could increase your value, even if it's cheap. It could increase your value, like. And then, you know,
you got to be careful with this locker room, man. It's becoming very one-sided in terms of like politics. You get rid of Debo and bring in Joey Bosa, like yikes, dude.
I know.
It needs to be like a kind of a balance in the locker room.
They're calling them what, the MAGA Bros? That's what they're calling them.
I saw someone say that if they sign Joey Bosa, they should just call the D-line the Republican National Convention.
Bro, we got the most conservative team in the NFL in Santa Clara.
Is that good? I think you want a balance.
Got the most conservative.
Meanwhile, the Eagles have like the Eagles were like, we're not coming to the White House. Thanks. Goodbye. No.
Bro, the Niners would be jumping. They're actually, yes, you have to
sign The Niners Joey. Would have been dying to go to the White House.
You have to sign Joey because Nick and Joey are like, bro, we get to meet Trump. We get to be in there. You got George and Juice. They're going to bring Juice back too. And they're like, let's go.
Yeah.
They're going to be, maybe it was a motivation thing. Joey's like, I can't meet Trump on the Chargers. But on the Niners, like, there's a chance.
Oh, my goodness. All right, it's time for me to go eat some lunch. I got some El Pollo Loco. El Pollo Loco is underrated for anyone who's ever had it.
They should sponsor this segment. Just saying.
Maybe they should. I'm going to go get Loco. Thanks for watching, everyone. And Tyler, thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
See you guys.